will be the floor, the chassis. Now this is a Z-frame chassis, and you can see the axles have not been mounted yet. Flooring starts upside down. These guys will mount the axles probably tomorrow. They'll bolt them, and they'll flip the floor over with the overhead crane system, and that's where to move on to the next section. Now I want to get some close-ups of the Z-frame. You can see out in here, this would be the underside of your trailer on 16 inches. Now if this were aluminum, and we do build all aluminum trailers, that's no problem. If this were aluminum, our cross members would be a lot more substantial. Although aluminum is lighter than steel, it takes a lot more of it to get the same strength. So we'd have to increase the size of that, which would add weight back to the trailer. With the Z-frame versus an all aluminum, there's very little difference in the weight. Very little. 5%, sometimes even less depending on the model. Once your chassis is built, it'll come over to your next section. That's where your flooring will be put in. Your tubing uprights, which is all done in Z. Those are fabricated. Now, one thing about the flooring to point out, in the testing that we've done, this is a piece of aluminum. This will be your running board for your new trailer. Aluminum is a really good conductor of heat. So if we were to put some heat down here, it wouldn't take long at all, maybe if we had a blowtorch, before this end would heat up. It would become very hot because heat travels quickly through aluminum. It's used to make pots and pans, cookware, solar panels. In the testing that we did, trailers that had an aluminum floor, we found that the heat transfer through the aluminum was greater than what it was through other types of material, such as wood or rumber, which we'll talk about in a little bit. For that reason, not only that, the noise, the vibration, it's a lot worse through aluminum versus wood floor. Wood floor 2x8 pressure treated pine, they're easy to maintain, soft to ride, cooler ride, less heat, less noise, less vibration, and also less expensive. Once your trailer is framed, you can see it'll roll over to this section, and we're missing the top or the roof. Now, this is a cutaway of what your roof panel is going to look like. And this is a technology that we patented and termed as a product called SafeBump. SafeBump meaning on the top we use a .040 sheet of aluminum. On the bottom we use a 22 gauge piece of zinc for strength, which is where your horse's heads are going to raise up against. And if you have a guy that spooks, he's going to be bumping up against that. This block of high density styrofoam insulation is sandwiched in between these two sheets. It ends up being a very strong roof. I probably should have done this, but I weigh 160 pounds. This section is only about 2 feet. Talked about earlier with the heat exchange and flooring. You can see this trailer is built with a material in the floor called Rumber. You see it has the same Z frame as what our other frame did that we looked at earlier, but instead of securing a 2x8 pressure treated pine floor, we use a material called Rumber, R-U-M-B-E-R, lumber with an R. Now Rumber is made from recycled tires. We don't make it, you can look it up, rumber.com. It's used in a variety of applications. The advantage to Rumber, it's a tongue and groove material. We'll look at a sample in a minute. One board, you can get a close-up back here. One board actually locks and snaps into the board beside it, so water and urine and different things can't get through. There's grooves on top of the floor, and this floor is dirty where it's been installed, but there are grooves on the floor. The advantage to Rumber, we don't have the heat transfer like we will on an aluminum floor. You do not have to use a mat. We don't recommend using a mat with Rumber, which is the luxury of it. And if you've ever owned a trailer and you have cleaned it out, you have to drag a stall mat in and out of the trailer before you ever buy one. Because in any other type of flooring system, whether it's wood or aluminum, you're going to need a mat to keep your horses from falling or sliding down once because it'll get slick. The Rumber floor, you're not going to need that mat. So you can imagine, this is your floor. Once it's dirty, the only thing you do is you just hose it out. Just hose it right out the back end of the trailer. Eliminates the mats. Lifetime warranty on Rumber. Let me grab a sample of it. This is Rumber. You can see it's just a board. It's very hard, and one board would lock into the board beside it. If I'd turn it correctly, it would. But here we go. The tongue and groove feature. That's the way that works. So that's a Rumber floor, and certainly we recommend a wood floor with a rubber mat due to heat transfer. Horse urine is very acidic, and it reacts to aluminum in the way that your automobile battery might corrode. There's nothing on your car battery to rust, but yet it gets corrosion on top. That's essentially what horse urine would do to aluminum over time if it's not maintained. If it's maintained, you won't have that problem. But a lot of folks don't realize that. So we like using a wood floor or a Rumber floor. We don't have to worry about the acid from the horse's urine. And of course with a Rumber floor, you don't have to have a mat. It's very easy to clean.